to 4 weeks, worth of games yet. With only playing maybe, I don't know, I guess we'd have to figure out the math, but maybe just add 2 games to the regular season. And when you're doing that, take out a preseason game. If you're going to add to the regular season at some point, you got to take away from the preseason. But these are all things that they're fairly reasonable, and I think they would be extremely effective. Because in today's era of NFL fanness, everybody is so much more up on who everyone is, and you're interested in watching all the games. Like, it doesn't matter if it's, you turn on your TV and the only 2 games on are the Jaguars versus the frickin' Bills, and then you've got on the other channel, you've got, let's say, who stinks, the 49ers versus the Bears, and let's say you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, so none of these are your team, and they don't really impact you a whole lot, and, but you've got fantasy football teams, and you play fantasy football, and so you know who these players are. You've probably got a guy on at least one of these teams, and thus you're interested in watching the game from a television standpoint. It's gotten to a point where, as football fans, when we're watching it, really, the game we're most looking forward to, and most for sure going to watch as close to in its entirety as we can, is our team. But we're interested in watching just about every game that's played because of fantasy football. They have an interest in an education in what's going on because of it. So I think at some point in time, within the next 1 to 5 years, look for the NFL, because I know Roger Goodell listens to the show on a weekly basis. He loves to go balls deep every week. Sometimes more than once. That's one of the benefits of having, being able to listen to the show on demand on Spreaker and SoundCloud and YouTube. But anyway, focus, Scotty Ball, focus. All right. It's in my strongest, unbiased opinion it makes sense, and it's in everyone's best interest. Like, everybody wins. The fans win to get more football. The players win. They get they'll get bigger paychecks probably as a result, but they'll also get more rest during the season. So they'll win as well. Owners will get more money because there's more games. League wins because you're increasing your supply to meet the seamlessly endless demand for your product. So it's wins like across the board for everybody. So look for that sometime soon. But let's get to I'm just in general. I'm fired up about the NFL. I'm fired up about pro football. End of the season, beginning of the playoffs. It's like the awesomest time ever. So many games have an impact and mean something, matter, affect other things outside of just their team and fan base winning and being happy. And I love it. I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's like it's still Christmas for me, as a football fan. So, all right. All that being said, that was really more of like a balls deep thought on fire. There we go. Balls deep thoughts on fire. Nice. Like it. Let's get into some specifics. Where should we go? Should we go Vikings, Purple Vein? Let's put that off, because I gotta be honest with you. I gotta tell you. You know how every week we go through the film, I actually grade the film out as a coach, or really expert pro analyst would. I am very capable of it, and so I take the time and I do it. With my schedule, time of year, this past week, I was not able to rewatch the Vikings 49-10 blowout victory over the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football, and thus I was not able to give my weekly film grades. I do plan on going back and still grading out that game to, continue just having that on record. But so to mix it up this week, when we do get to the Purple Vein Viking specific talk, instead of doing the film breakdown, we are going to do a stats study, because now that we've been focusing on the film because that's what you learn the most from. But you can learn a lot from the stats, and it is good every once in a while to take an exercise of analyzing stats and then seeing how they match up. What they explain, what they kind of leave out, things like that. But I don't think I'm quite ready to go all purple vein on you just yet. I think we should keep it league-wide, with playoff picture, recapping last week, previewing this final week 17 here of the NFL regular season this week, and then we'll squeak in just a couple quick news bits. Alright, so let's give you a recap of last week's games, and then we'll give you a current update of where that leaves us for playoff picture, and then this final week's, matchups. Alright, so by the way, I had 9 out of the 16 correct last week, so better than half as usual, but not, I like to be in that double-digit 10-plus range. But anyway, on the Thursday night game, in what was a close, good division matchup, we had the Oakland Raiders beat the San Diego Chargers. That game was in Oakland by a score of 23-20. So the Raiders did not cover the spread. They were a 5.5-point spread. If you took the Chargers gambling, you won. Then we had, I believe this was the Saturday game, as there was another Saturday game. We had the Washington Redskins winning big on the road at Philadelphia, 38-24, and with that win, the Washington Redskins clinched the NFC East division with an 8-7 record. They will either finish 9-7 or 8-8. Tiebreakers will not matter. They own whatever tiebreakers could have been necessary from that point on. So the Giants playing Sunday night against the Vikings without Odell Beckham Jr., losing 49-10. Even if they would have won that game, it wouldn't have mattered. They were still already out of the playoff race, and they knew that. So I think that contributed to the Giants coming out flat as well. But again, we'll get into that here in just a little bit. So much to my pleasure, the Washington Redskins, as I said, win the NFC East by beating the Eagles last week, clinching it 38-24 in Philadelphia. More news fallout on that Philadelphia side momentarily. Actually, let's throw it in now. As a result of that loss and the Eagles being eliminated from playoff contention, earlier this week they fired head coach Chip Kelly. Great decision. I told you all this was going to happen. Everything this guy was doing was just trending completely in the opposite direction. The more influence and control he got on the team, the worse the team got. It was a clear pattern, and it was inevitable. And I told everyone this, and thank you, Eagles management, for making my prediction on that come true. Makes me happy. Plus, I've always liked the Eagles as a team, and with Chip Kelly running the show there, I could not like them at all. He's just, I have a hard time. He's not a very likable guy as far as I'm concerned, at least what I find people to be likable. I don't know. But he'll always be in our Stum Hall of Fame here on the show. He was one of the primary, inspirations for the, existence of our Stum, which is stands for stupid dumb. When something is so stupid and so dumb that it's stupid dumb, it is stum. And Chip Kelly is and will always be a stum Hall of Fame member here on Balls Deep Sports Talk. But so he gone. Eagles in their final game here against the Giants, and that's, oh my gosh, that game is just talk about two messes. They got an interim coach for the final week, the final game or whatever, and then they'll go from there. I want to say they named a new guy as personnel director as well. But anyway, moving on with last week's recaps, we have the Carolina Panthers losing their first game of the year on the road against Atlanta, 20-13. Panthers are no longer undefeated. Jonathan Stewart being out caught up to them, as I said it would. Don't be surprised. Now, their final week of the season, boy, wait till we preview that. But anyway, they're 14-1. They're still in the number one seed. However, they have not clinched the number one seed. Also, last week, we had the Cowboys losing at Buffalo 16-6 in a game that really doesn't matter for anybody, and Bills might somehow no, Bills aren't still in contention. We also had the Bears in another meaningless game. Well, yeah, meaningless. Beat the Buccaneers in Tampa 26-21. The Kansas City Chiefs, in not a meaningless game, won at home over the Cleveland Browns 17-13. They are very much in the wild card race in the AFC. They could still even win the division, I want to say. Detroit Lions win at home against the 49ers. Two non-playoff teams there, 32-17. Houston Texans beat the Tennessee Titans 34-6. And I want to say the Texans have won that division. No, the Colts still have a chance. Colts still have a chance of winning that. But the Texans are in the driver's seat. If they're winning, they're in. Indianapolis Colts kept their hopes alive by beating the Dolphins in Miami 18-12. Jets beat the Patriots in New York. Hometown hero of ours in Cold Spring, my city of Cold Spring. Home of Eric Decker, current wide receiver of the New York Jets. He caught the game-winning touchdown in overtime against the New England Patriots this past week. Way to represent Holmes. So the Patriots lose, falling to the Jets. Jets very much in that wild card race as well. Jets and Chiefs currently sitting in the wild card spots because the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore 20-17. Ryan Mallett, of all freaking people, was the starting quarterback for the Ravens in that game. Steelers somehow lose a game that on paper they should have easily won. And now they need to win and get some help in order to get the wild card, one of those two wild card spots, where before they were, in their own, I want to say they controlled their own destiny if they just were, win out and they'd be in. But, like I said, anyway, we also had the Jaguars losing at the New Orleans Saints 27-38 in a meaningless game for the most part. Yep. We had the Cardinals crushing the Green Bay Packers in Arizona 38-8, keeping the Cardinals' hopes for the number one seed in the NFC still very much alive, giving them something to play for here in the final week. And whether the Packers had won or lost this Week 17 game versus the Vikings would still determine the winner of the NFC North. However, with the Packers losing this game to the Cardinals, now if they were to also lose this coming week to us, they would would have the chance to fall to the 6th seed, whereas before they would have likely still been, if they would have won last week against the Cardinals, even if they then lose the division this week, they wouldn't have dropped farther than the 5 seed. They would have had a game up on Seattle. Then we had the Rams stunning Seattle in Seattle, 23-17, making all kinds of, keeping Atlanta in it, forcing the Vikings to actually have to win. And the Vikings did so Sunday night, 49-10, crushing the New York Giants. And then in a very close game on Monday night, we had the Denver Broncos edging out the Cincinnati Bengals 20-17. It had the Broncos